I love Jennifer Aniston, and I will always watch an Adam Sandler film because more often than not, I enjoy them. And I also particularly enjoy Aniston and Sandler together because I think they're very good, and this is obviously not the first film that they've done together. Surprisingly, I've only just heard of this when I found it randomly on Netflix. And I thought, I'll give it a go. Let's see what it's all about. And when I read the description, it sounded pretty awful. And then I started watching and it was pretty good. And then actually it kind of got quite bad again. So I'm not sure how I feel, to be perfectly honest. It's rated 6.0 out of 10 on IMDb, which is better than I was expecting it to have. I think I'd give it a 5.5. And it's very, very rare that I will rate a Jennifer Aniston film quite as low as that. This one was released in 2019, directed by Kyle Newacheck and written by James Vanderbilt, and stars, of course, Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. It's got a very interesting cast, actually. Luke Evans, Terence, Gemma Arterton, David Walliams, which I wasn't expecting. In terms of the casting, I've got no issues. I thought it was very well acted. I love Jennifer Aniston's acting. So for me, that was absolutely fine. The narrative is up and down. So, how do I explain this? I will read the description from IMDb. I wasn't going to, but I think it's probably the best way to sum this up. And it says, a New York cop and his wife go on a European vacation to reinvigorate the spark in their marriage, but end up getting framed and on the run for the death of an elderly billionaire. So they're on this yacht, the lights go out, there's a noise, the lights go back on, this elderly billionaire is dead, and because they are kind of the outcast Americans and don't fit in with the rest of this family and these rich individuals, they are instantly hailed as suspects, and they go, I don't want to say on the run, because they can't go on the run, they've got their passports, but they spend a lot of time trying to work out who it was and solving it themselves. And actually, massive credit to this film, because Adam Sandler's character, Nick, Jennifer Aniston plays Audrey, Nick and Audrey Spitz, because his character is a police officer, when Audrey got quite excited about this and, started speculating who it could be and decided that they would solve this themselves, Nick did point out that this is real life and it's not a game, and civilians generally don't have the tools at their disposal to solve a murder like this. I really loved that, because normally films will, murderers will be solved by, the guy next door or the girl next door, and that in real life very rarely happens. So I just really love that little bit of dialogue. Other than that, it's not that interesting. I didn't really care who the murderer was. I don't think enough seeds were planted to whet our appetites to make us curious about who it was. Yes, various motives were thrown around, but they all seemed possible and also pointless. There was no kind of focus one way or another, and I just ultimately didn't care who it was. I found the development of the narrative quite predictable, insofar as, what happened to the characters, particularly the Spitzes. I found that quite predictable. The film is an hour and 40 minutes, and the murder happens 40 minutes in. So I think if they took less time setting up, but I will point out that 40 minutes did actually go by quite quickly. But because it only gave them an hour left to explain absolutely everything, it didn't leave them with enough time. So I think the film either needed to be longer to allow for more development of characters and situations, or they needed to trim down the intro. This is not the worst film I've ever seen. Absolutely not. I was quite happy to watch it to the end. It wasn't exactly like I got halfway through and said, forget it, I'm giving up. But it's also not a film I'd ever watch again, I don't think. It's not funny. It's not very interesting. I wasn't emotionally invested. It's very much an average film that's fine to watch once if you just need background noise, but it's not the most gripping or thrilling I've ever seen.